Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and in today's video I want to talk about Power Apps with large data sets. So what I mean by large is just very large quantity of data, and the reason I want to talk about that today is because that's something that I don't see very often recorded, and that's something that we deal in the real life. Because it's one thing that you build, a great demo or a proof of concept or something to present with or even to use, and it works great. But after it has been out there for, say, weeks, 2 weeks, months, maybe a year, if the back-end data really grows, then what is it that happens to the Power Apps? Is the Power Apps even usable? And then the key thing is, how do I manage those data sets? So in this demonstration over here, I'm actually going to show you 3 major and popular connectors. But the key thing is, I'm not going to show you, a data source which has 100, 200, or 1,000. I'm going over 40,000 rows or items over there. So this is really a good proof of concept, which I first did for myself, just to see is that how much can Power Apps handle? And then also is a good demonstration for you all to see that this is really the capacity, the power of Power Apps, because it can handle such high data sources. So let me actually show you really what it is that I'm talking about. In the Power Apps data source over here, I'm actually looking at 3 key ones. The 3 key ones that I'm looking at are Azure SQL, CDS, and SharePoint. And the reason I do that is because these are the 3 most popular data sources that have been used when it comes to Power Apps. So I thought I'll hit all 3 of them and kind of show you the subtle differences in all 3 of them and how they handle large data sets. What I'm going to do though is actually I'm going to break this down as 3 different videos. And that's the 3 different sections I'm going to cover on. In this video over here, I'm going to focus purely on large data sets. The data will be simple, it'll just be single line of text or multiple line of text, floating numbers, things like that. I'm not going to go too complicated on the data columns, but what I'm going to handle in this one is just really large number of data, and then we'll see what happens in the other 2 over there, because I will go into some complex data. I'll also work with some attachments, and I'll go and deep dive those, but I'm going to save that for another video. Now, so in this one over here, I'm going to talk about large quantity of data. And this is basically it. What I've actually done is I've gotten a data from the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and they actually showed how the traffic was in certain sectors over a period of the entire year. So I was able to get that, it's a sample free data, and it has 44,739 rows. I said, this is a great place to start. And that's what I've done over here. That's what I'm using. In addition, I'm going to show how does the app actually show all the data? So I'm going to talk about that, and then what are the common functions to use and how. So I'll actually show you those functions that I've used and their formulas over there. So now that you have a good idea of what I'm going to talk about, let's actually spend some time on the backend data itself. I want to show you those 3 data sources over there, prove to you that I've actually got, that I'm actually putting money where my mouth is as far as that's the really data. I'll prove that to you that that's the data source. And then I'll also show you some tips and tricks of how I actually uploaded that data. And then we'll end with actually looking at the app. All right, so let's jump into it. The first one I'm going to look at is SharePoint, because that was pretty simple and straightforward. One of the things I did was in the SharePoint, I actually uploaded from that data that I talked about. And I got that data as an Excel spreadsheet, so I'll actually show you that. Here's the one. This is actually what the data that I got. It came as this Excel spreadsheet. As you can see, that Excel spreadsheet is 8 megs. So it's a pretty good size spreadsheet over here. And it even takes a few seconds to load. So that's what it is. It's the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and it's annual average daily traffic. That's all the data over here. And there's a lot of data. So that's the spreadsheet. What I did was I was able to upload that into all the 3 places. So the first place I want to look at is SharePoint. So in SharePoint, I went ahead and uploaded that list, and that list, which I just passed by, was right here. The NCAOT. But check a look at this one. It's 44,735 rows or items. That is a lot of data. And you know what? That is potentially something that's going on in your own company, that you're seeing this happen and you're a little concerned about your Power Apps. So you're actually running into an issue with Power Apps, and this is a great place for you to see what all is happening. So that's the SharePoint piece, all right? That's one thing. Second, and if by the way, if anybody's interested how I was able to do that, what you want to do is hit on New, click on App, and when you're clicking on App, you actually do just type in Excel. And what Excel does, there's an actual section for Import Spreadsheet. Now, the second tip over here is when you want to put that spreadsheet. That's obviously the one that I talked about. Do a little bit of cleaning up. So in my cleaning up, what I did was I just took the data from there and I cleaned it up to a nice spreadsheet with just the nice headers, and then I just took the data. So that's basically what the cleaned up spreadsheet looks like. That's the only cleanup I did. And then finally, I was able to export it using that Excel import over there, and that really worked out well. What it took was a lot of time to upload, and again, your bottleneck is your internet service over there. So that's kind of a side tidbit that I'm throwing over there. So here is the SharePoint one. Once again, I was able to go and upload this big chunk of SharePoint SharePoint data, and now I've got that whole 44,735 rows. So that's proof over there. Let's take a look at the one I have in SQL. So I have the same thing, exact same spreadsheet I took, and I was able to go ahead and upload it. Now, one of the sweet things I liked about in Azure SQL is it literally took all that data, and I was able to come over here. I was able to do a task. In the task, there is an option to go ahead and import data. You can do import data. You can do it as a flat file. I was able to take that as a flat file. Another tricks that I know is that you don't do it as an Excel big spreadsheet, as an XLSX. Just drop it down to an XLS, and it works really well. And that's what I did. This was the fastest I saw. I was able to upload all those 44,000 rows literally in under 10 seconds. That's how fast it went. But that's for a separate discussion altogether, right? But again, I need to prove to you, because when I open this up, all it shows is 1,000 rows, and there's a simple way to fix that. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to change that to say 50,000. I'm going to execute that successfully, and that's it. 44,735. Same number which we saw in Excel spreadsheet, in the SharePoint list. Finally, let's also go take a look at our CDS. So when I go into my CDS over here, Common Data Service, in CDS, I was able to go ahead and upload the same data. And in this data over here, one thing in CDS is I don't find an easy way to find out where that spreadsheet is. How much is the data? So a little tidbit that I was given was that you can actually use Xrm Tool Box, and I'm a big fan of Xrm Tool Box. This is a free tool, and I believe every Power Apps and Dynamics 365 people should have a copy of this free tool. But again, that's my personal opinion. But in that, along with you're doing a Power Apps checker and security tool, which you might have actually seen in my other videos, there's this really cool tool called Record Counter. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh the load entities. And when you first time use that app over there, you go ahead and put in the URL of your Dynamics 365, put in the authentication, and it'll go ahead and pull all this information together because it ties it down to that environment. So over here, now I'm just going to type in, say in the search, let's just see NC, right there, NCDOT. And then once I do that, I'm going to say get count. And actually, I need to even do that. Get counts, and it's taking its while. It's actually doing the counting over there, and right there, 44,735. So this is a proof that I was able to get that data, the raw data which I showed you from the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and I uploaded it into 3 separate places: SharePoint list, CDS, Azure SQL table, and in CDS over there. All of them have a large chunk of table. So now that I've shown you, I'm kind of giving you a solid confirmation that here's the data over there. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the actual Power App. Another tidbit I have is when you're uploading it to CDS, you have the option to use an Excel flat file, but it tends to function a little bit nicer when you actually have that flat file or the Excel spreadsheet in OneDrive. Because what I did was when I had that OneDrive spreadsheet on my local machine, I was uploading it. Doing the upload from my local machine with the Excel spreadsheet over to CDS, and for some reason it failed twice. It could be that I have a bad internet speed or whatever was happening on the traffic at that time. So what I did was I actually used what the wizard gave me. Wizard said that, do you want it from your local machine or do you want it from OneDrive? So I said, hey, if OneDrive is an option, I just uploaded my file over here to OneDrive, And then when the time came to do that bulk insert into CDS entity, I put this link over here, and it still took a while. I mean, I just set that up and I walked away for an hour and I came back, and after it was done, it said completed and all the data came up. So that's just a little bit tidbit, is that when you're doing that bulk import of such quantity, go ahead and just put it in OneDrive, and it works really well. Okay, so let's now jump into the spreadsheet over here. And this spreadsheet, this app. And this app over here, like I want to say, this was something as a proof of concept I did for myself, because I was getting questions and I was also having some of my own concerns. So here's just a quick overview of the app. There's nothing fancy about the app. All I've done is, put in this intro screen over here, and then I've broken it down into 3 connectors first. So let's see. This is the CDS one I just showed you. This is the one that's coming from the Excel spreadsheet, which I just showed you. And then this is Azure SQL table, which I also showed you. The 3 ones that I just showed you a few minutes ago, those are the connectors that I put over here. And so that's one thing. And then I went ahead and built separate screens so that I can kind of focus just on each of them. So now let's actually go into the app. So the first thing I want to do is I want to test a few things. In the app is, first, with all this data coming in, can I even do a search for it? Can I search for something and find all the data that's coming in? Because we know, and all of us who build Power Apps and are kind of comfortable with Power Apps, that all of 3 data sources are delegatable. But can they really handle this much data? Well, we're going to prove it, because in paper and documentation, which is right here, it says that these are the 3 most popular sources that are delegatable. And I'll put this link in the description below so you can actually take a look at it. That these are definitely the popular ones. The data sources are the most popular, and they support delegation. And once again, I said this was my proof of concept because there was 44,000 rows over there. Okay, let's go back. So another key things which I'm showing you. Before I even go testing, on the file, I'm going into settings, I'm going to advanced settings, and I've kept the data row limit for non-delegatable queries as 500. I did not touch that. I want to leave it at that, because as you and I know that this thing can go up to 2,000, but when you put it up to 2,000, it does hit performance a little bit, because when the app opens, it is pulling 2,000 items over there. But that's again for the non-delegatable ones, right? These 3 data sources are delegatable, so technically I should not be having to mess with that. So I left it at the default 500, and it actually works really well, but I'll let you be the judge for that. I'll let you can draw those conclusions. So let's do the first one, okay? Azure SQL. And come over here to Azure SQL, and just so that you guys know for sure, I'm going to get out of this one, click over here, and you can see DBO, North Carolina Department of Transportation. So this is coming from there. Let's pause over here and let me show you a few things. No yellow color exclamation marks, which means I am not seeing any delegation warnings. That's a big thumbs up, right? That's pretty cool. Second thing over here is take a look at this formula. What I'm doing is I'm using my favorite search function over here. Search function works really well for both CDS and SQL. I just say SQL because it works well for on-prem and Azure as well. So I just use the term widely as SQL, but search really works well over here. And so this is SQL, so I use SQL. One of the things I'm doing in this search is I'm saying that, hey, I want you to search in this SQL table whatever entry I've put in this text control over here, and you go ahead and search anything which is in the county, location, and the route table which is over there. The formula doesn't get any simpler than that. It's basically saying use the search function, search in that table over there, search for whatever entry you're putting in this field, and then search that against all these 3 different tables. I mean, it literally doesn't get any simpler than that, but take a look at how powerful it is. All right, now right now Power Apps it's built this way that for the sake of its performance, it will only let you pull 100 at a time. So right now you're seeing 100, and if I go down over here, you'll actually see that it's going to stop at somewhere around the 99, 98. That's right, I was correct, right at 100. And then after that, it'll go ahead and pull another 100. So then that's what it did. You saw the cursor just went up. It just went ahead and pulled another 100. This is not a mistake. This is actually by design, purely to improve performance, and I personally like that. I mean, but you just get 100 at a time, and it works really well. But let's not stop over there, because pulling it in hundreds, scrolling on every hundreds is great, but we've got 44,000 and more rows over here. So this better work really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start searching for anything, and I'll say, let's actually take a quick look at, let's see, there was a North Carolina, so let me do a CABARUS. Now all we were seeing were A's over here, but it went ahead and started pulling all the way to Cabarrus over here. But let's not stop over there, because I'm going to actually jump to my SQL, because I've got all 44,000, and I'm going to kind of scroll all the way down, because in SQL Server Management Studio, I'm just able to scroll and see all the way down. And I'm saying things such as counties such as Yadkin, I see Wilson, I see Vance. So let's do a search for those and let's see what we find. All right, so I'm going to get out of this one and I'm going to do the Yadkin, because that was way at the bottom over there. And it goes ahead and it's pulling in all that information. So if I go ahead and scroll it in, see, actually it did. It went ahead and got me all the Yadkins over there. Now, one thing I should have done, and I'll actually clean that up right now, is this ID. You fill that up over here so you can actually see that. That ID is pretty much the same as the row over there. And when I typed in for the Yadkin, it's filtering the Yadkin. I am looking at row number 44,300 and above. Remember, this is a delegatable one, and I've got a lot of data over there, and the response to the search was in seconds. I mean, it didn't even go over 5 seconds. It was that fast. So this is my confirmation that it works really well, but let's just not stop over there, because not only am I able to see the information, can I even edit it? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just select randomly one over here, Yadkin. Yeah, this is good. I'll go ahead and keep the route the same. I'll go ahead and just change this to location wherever I want to be. Okay, just randomly something, and I'm going to go ahead and save it. Two things will happen. First of all, when you go ahead and submit that, it immediately updates this gallery over here. Not only did it update the backend table, which is on SQL on row number 44,991, but it went ahead and updated this over here. But let's see, does it need some time in the back end to crunch or something? Does it need that much time? Or can I just go ahead and type in whatever right now and I get to it? Let's see. This is whatever. Or did I say wherever? I think I said wherever. So let me just type in where. Let's say Yadkin. Maybe I just did not know what I typed. Wherever. All right, so let me just type in WHEVER. Wherever I want to be. It was my fault. I just didn't know what I was typing. But let's pause and see what happened. I was able to do a search for that delegatable item. That row number was 42,991 row. I was able to edit it. I literally clicked on that and I was able to edit it. I was able to go ahead and update the location information, went ahead and saved it, and then it was immediately searchable. It didn't need any extra crawl time or anything like that. It immediately saw what I searched, went and did directly a search on the SQL side over the Azure SQL side, and it filtered in. That's row number 44,991. I mean, to me, this was such a good feeling that I was saying that Power Apps is so powerful, especially when you're following the rules, right? There are 3 delegatable data sources, Azure SQL being one of them. I was able to go ahead and do a search, even though I set the limit at 500. The rows in the non-delegatable ones, set it at 500, didn't change that. The rows that are getting pulled in the gallery over there, they were pulling 100 at a time, didn't do any changes over there. But I was able to do a search, found that search matched 42,991 row number, edited it, and then did a research for that new edited text, and it still came up over there. This is very impressive. I mean, I know you've seen a lot of demos of how filtering and search and everything works, but I'm willing to bet that you haven't seen something which shows the power of Power Apps at this much data source level. All right, so this is Azure SQL. Now let's take a step. Now let's switch our gears to now CDS and see, does CDS have the same capacity over there? So I'm going to go back over here and go to CDS entity, and the CDS entity look and feel is the exact same, but I'll just stop over here. We'll take a look at that, right? Click on it, and as you can see, that this is that CDS one. This is the CDS entity that I had over there. Also, if you remember, I showed you that in the CDS entity, when I came in, that was the same name. I was even able to see all the data, but I showed you that neat little trick. I was able to pull all the information, and this is the same amount, right? The same amount of rows over here. 44,735 entries were made for that entity. The exact same one over here, all right? Its formula, again, is the same. This is, again, the beauty of search. The only two differences over here was obviously I'm changing the control name, because over here I've named that as search. But then I've also have to go ahead and get the correct table names for the CDS entity. As you can know, that all the CDS's ones start with their own prefix. In this case, my CDS entity had the prefix CR341. And so that's the only change. But all in all, this is, again, that same search function, and it doesn't get any more simpler than this. But let's do the same type of test, okay? I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do that same Yadkin test, all right? As you can see, search is going on, and it's taking a while, but if I actually go down over here, start saying, yep, I find it. It's right over there. What I could even do is I could do a search from exit 65. Let's see what happens. From exit 65s, and there's a bunch of them, but check this out. It is able to go ahead and get me all these entries, which are at different rows. I mean, one of them is, we know that this one is already in the 44,000 row level over there. This could be in the 10,000. The other one could be in the 30,000. But the search is that powerful, and it is that powerful because it is a CDS entity, and it's delegatable, which means you're literally doing a server-side search over there. But again, let's not stop over here, right? I'm going to go to this Yadkin, and I'm going to say that from exit 60, let's say from exit 65 to I didn't see I-85. Let me put in I-85. All right. And so now it went ahead and updated that directly. I'm going to X out of here, so it'll just refresh. Give it a second. It'll go ahead and refresh. And now I'm going to type in from, and it'll go ahead and start searching from exit I-77. Let's see, it is doing a search. Anyway, you get the idea of it. I think if I search for it from 77 to 85, basically, yeah, it is doing the same thing. Let's see if I can find it faster. This is by no means me telling you that it's not working. This is just me not knowing what I typed in a few seconds ago. So let's do a search from exit 79. Nah, that wasn't me. That wasn't me, but close enough. But you basically get the point of it, that I was able to go ahead and did the edit, and I was able to do the search over there. Whatever I did on Azure SQL side, the same thing I'm able to do on CDS side. So that's 2 for 2, right? 2 delegatable ones, that's Azure SQL, and that's the CDS over there. I'm able to go ahead and do a search directly on a server side for over 44,000 items, and I'm able to get that thing back in. Now I'm going to keep, let's take a look at the last one, which is SharePoint, because things are a little bit more different on SharePoint, but yet it is that powerful, right? So hopefully I've proved my point already twice. It works well on Azure SQL, it works well on CDS, but now let's go to SharePoint Online, all right? I'm going to click on SharePoint Online, and in SharePoint Online, things are a little bit more different. It is still delegatable, which means that I've got 44,000 over items over there on a SharePoint list, but there's a way to go ahead and actually tweak your search. Because what happens is, if you see right now, if I click on this over here, in the search section over here, I've got a warning. I've got a delegatable warning over there. And what that means is that whatever worked on the search for Azure SQL or the search that works on CDS, because remember, we didn't see the delegation over there. It worked for those two. In SharePoint, search does not work. It will actually give you a delegation warning over there. So as a good example, the formula that you see over here is the exact same thing, right? It is, I've put in the data source, which is SharePoint list, and I'm saying that, hey, whatever is in the Sage touch, whatever is in this text over here, just search for these 3 different places. So we know that there was Yadkin was one of the counties, and I'm doing a search. and Yadkin was at the row number 44,000 and something. But because we got that exclamation mark over there, we know that the search function is non-delegatable, which means now we are bound by that 500 limit over there. And even if I bumped up that 500 to 2,000, there is just no way I'm going to be able to search all the way to the bottom. So kind of keep that in mind. And when I say keep that in mind, pay attention to this type of documentation over here. This documentation very clearly states for SharePoint is that it will work, and it, filters such as functions such as filter, search can be non-delegatable over here. But inside search, if you go ahead and modify a search, it is not going to work. Then it suddenly becomes non-delegatable. I would highly recommend that you bookmark something like this so you can view that. But with a little bit of tweaking, we can actually improve it. We can make it how it's supposed to be. And so what I did was I already had a nice working formula. So I'm going to go up over here. I'm going to comment that out. And this is what the recommended one is. The recommended one is you use filter, because filter works really well. And then inside filter, you go ahead and leverage, you go ahead and leverage the starts with, and the starts with is able to go ahead and a combination of it will give you that functionality of same powerful functionality which we saw in Azure SQL and we saw on CDS over there. So let me actually show you what I mean. What happened over here is we just didn't have a combination working well. So what I want to do now is let's try to replicate what we did before. I'm going to now get the filter, and I'm going to go back to Yadkin because I tend to choose Yadkin because it's always at the bottom. And check that out. Before, we had a problem. Remember when I tried to search Yadkin over here, it didn't work? But now that I'm doing the recommended way of using the filters, the recommended function, which is filters over there, the search is delegatable. I mean, it is working. The search, the data source is delegatable because the filter function makes it delegatable. And so over here, what I can do is now I can do a combination of the two. I'm getting filter, so filter works. What I can also do is inside filter, go ahead and search it based on this. So I'm going to now do something to make sure I get, say from exit, and it is searching inside. And here you go, inside the from exit over here. Inside the Yadkins, I was able to get that filter, and then I was also able to apply the search in there. So this combination of the formulas, and let's take a look at that formula again. This combination, which is the inside the filter, I'm doing a starts with. In the starts with, I'm saying that I want you to start, look against whatever is the title, which in this case the title is a county. Filter the county based on whatever I've selected over here, and go ahead and do a search in the location with the text that I put in over here. See, this combination works really well. So I want to actually do this proof of concept. It was literally done as a proof of concept for myself because I have built hundreds and hundreds of apps, but I was a little concerned is that with all these apps growing, and some of your apps may not even hit at this level. They might have not gone over 10,000 or 5,000. They might still be in the hundreds. But right here, I have proved to you the power of Power Apps as long as you do two things. Thing number one is you got to use the correct entities, which in this case, I proved three to you, the three famous ones, Azure SQL, CDS, and SharePoint. And thing number two is that you got to use the correct combination of formulas over there. And to find those correct combinations, you got to bookmark this page, which by the way, I've put the link down here in the description, because this is how it works. As long as you've got these delegatable functions in the correct formula, for these delegable ones, it works really, really well. So hopefully this example that I showed you with all of my three different connectors over here with Azure SQL, with CDS and SharePoint, was a good kind of example for you just to see how powerful Power Apps is, but also give you that reassurance that you need. Is something going to break when I start hitting high data? And this was a clear example. Each of them had 44,735 items or rows. Put them in three different places. I put them in Azure SQL, I put them in CDS, I put them in SharePoint, and all of them were delegatable because the search worked really well. Remember, in Azure SQL and in CDS, search worked well, and the formula was pretty simple and straightforward. In SharePoint, search didn't work, right? The delegatable, non-delegatable formula icon came up, but I was able to change that. I was able to use a combination of filter and I put in that little and over there, so I was able to use a combination. With the drop down, it filtered based over there, and then I was able to use the search text over there, and it worked really well. So there was just a little change. Search works for these two other connectors, but for SharePoint, you got to use a combination of filter and add. So once again, hopefully this was helpful to you. I'll put some important information and links in the description below, and as always, keep power apping.